migration is down, how much further should it fall to ease housing pressures?
What's it down by? Yeah, I mean, this is a really important question because it's off a very high base and it's gone up dramatically. So when you bring in 1.67 million people over 5 years and we've got building approvals at an 11-year low, that's why Labor's created this housing crisis. And when you see the image, the footage and you know it with your own friends and friendship groups, when people are applying for a rental property and they're competing with 30 or 40 other applicants, well, I mean, why is that happening? And this is why I think a lot of Australians are saying that they're not better off today than they were 2 years ago when Mr Albanese was elected Prime Minister. These problems weren't the case 5 years ago. You can't buy a house for love nor money as a young first home buyer because the government has really surged the numbers and will do so over the next couple of years as well. So they've come down slightly, but nowhere near what's required to answer the question to what do we do about housing. We've got to take care of Australians and help get them into housing. We've got people living in tents and living in homeless shelters and living rough at the moment, and I want to make sure that we can get Australians into housing, and that's why we need a managed migration program.
Mr Dutton, is there a risk that on climate, is there a risk that the European Union would put carbon tariffs on Australia that could harm Australian farmers if the coalition doesn't have a 2030 emissions reduction target?
Well, the coalition strongly believes in the net zero 2050 target. We've signed up to it, absolutely committed to it, and there's no question in my mind that with renewables in the system, with gas in the system, particularly over the interim period, once the 90% of renewables firming goes out of the system by 2034, and once we bring in nuclear, which is a zero emissions technology, we can achieve, and we must achieve, the net zero by 2050. But I'm not going to sign up to a policy that the Prime Minister is proposing at the moment, that during a cost of living crisis, which Labor's created, families can't afford to pay their electricity bills now, and he's talking about a 65 to 75% target in 2035, which is going to drive your electricity prices up even higher. And I just say this to people who are going to Coles or Woolies today and knowing that you're just getting smashed when you get to the checkout. Why is it that grocery prices have gone up so dramatically under Labor? Well, it's not just your household power bill that's gone up. It's also the farmer, and it's the IGA, and it's Coles, and it's the butcher, and the baker, and it's the farmer with the cold room. All of their electricity bills have gone up as well, and that's fed into higher grocery prices when you turn up at the checkout. And that's why families are under the pump at the moment. And I just don't think families can afford another 20 or 30% electricity price increase under Mr Albanese when he signs up to a 65 to 75% target without any economic modelling. I mean, let's release the economic modelling to understand what it means. The Prime Minister said nothing before the last election about adding $10,000 to a Toyota hybrid RAV4 or to a Toyota Hilux or a Ford Ranger, but that's what he's imposing to try and achieve the 43% target, which is not going to be achieved anyway. So I believe in strong action on addressing our emissions and on climate change. Absolutely, but I'm not going to send Australian families to the wall and really hammer them even more than what they're experiencing at the moment under this government. Why would we sign up to an arrangement that Australians don't understand? And it's okay for Mr Albanese to want to feel popular and get all the backslaps from Justin Trudeau and Emmanuel Macron at the Paris conferences. The Prime Minister's responsibility is actually to the Australian public. And as Prime Minister, I would make decisions which help us meet our international obligations, but which don't destroy small businesses and impose huge cost increases in electricity bills on Australian families.